good. We're good.
Here we are.
Okay.
We are live. We are Relationally Speaking. I am Penny Douglas.
I am Gary Douglas.
And we wanted to come to you tonight and talk about keeping it together when crisis strikes.
Yeah, funny enough, even good enough as the economy is, and still that people are dealing with layoffs, and all of a sudden now you hear about GM saying that they're going to start laying people off after working there for God knows how many years. Usually some of the biggest things that cause stress in any kind of relationship is the issue with the financial.
Hi, Patricia. Thank you for coming on.
That is usually one of the most heavy duty because it brings, the way
Hi, Sherry.
way our economies run. We're not run on a asset-based system. We're run on a credit-based, which always refers to having to owe money to somebody. I can remember the whole purpose of the concept of taxes was to ensure that everybody stayed
Hey,
productive.
Carolyn.
I mean, think about it. You're going to stay productive. I mean, think about it. Really? You still have to eat. Even if you bought your house, your boat, or whatever, you still got to go get fuel for it. You still, you still need things to take care of.
You still have a reason to work.
Yeah. So that is
you need taxes to
that
make us
to keep you moving is
give
just
that incentive to work.
Yeah, it's pretty empty. Mm-hmm. Empty reasoning, but for the most part, because of how our system is set up, it is excessively difficult.
My hands are cold.
Oh, if I can stop itching my eyes.
It's cold
It's
in our house.
Oh my gosh, it's cold everywhere, isn't it? All the way down to Houston, it's 38 degrees, which I'm sure the rest of you...
And the boys want to have a bonfire in our backyard.
Yeah. Understand the temperatures around here on the average when it gets hot is up around near the hundreds. So anything below 40
They think it's
degrees.
time to go out and have a fire when it gets freezing.
It's just crazy.
I'm like, people don't do that, guys.
No, they usually...
This is not the time to go outside and do something.
They usually find bears and hibernate down here. Almost reptilian. But the financial is definitely one of the biggest issues.
That's a big crisis, all right, when you lose your job or you're not making enough. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's... the way the workplace is nowadays anyway, it's nowhere...
Hi, Angie.
It's nowhere near as friendly or... I would flat out say productive. I mean, ever since 9/11, there's... I can't remember what the percentage was, but the number of people right now that are so caught up with depression, with anxiety, it's outrageous. I mean, we're talking like in the 80 percentile, almost 90-some percent. It's just outrageous.
Got some Brian Toops and
Brian Tubes, yeah.
Joe Laframboise.
Joe Laframboise, wow. I can't believe he's on there. Joe, oh my God. I ain't seen him in ages. I'm glad you're still out there, buddy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, the issues of dealing with changes, with challenges, especially, any kind of change, even what is good, is stressful. And nowadays, ever since from 9/11 on, you're looking at the average was like over 96 million Americans were displaced. And you're talking about entire towns where it's generations of Americans. And they're not there anymore. And a lot of people say, well, they just moved on. No, they didn't, unfortunately. But with everything coming back to life again, where the unemployment rate, and this is not based on those who can't collect unemployment anymore, like they were playing with the numbers before in the earlier administrations. The numbers are actually legit. They are back to where they were, like the numbers were in the 60s, which is wonderful. However, whether good or bad...
Oh, okay. Yeah, eat your dinner. That's fine.
Whether good or bad, whatever anyone goes through, the financial challenges, the changes, is excessively stressful and can create all kinds of anxieties. I mean, dealing with just challenges every day that not everybody are really prepped or prepared for, such as your vehicle losing its transmission, or, you blow a rod and basically trash your short block and, your big block too, man. I mean, you take it right through you crack your header and you put something right through the rest of the body, through the oil pan or something. I mean, oh my God, you might as well get another car, unless you got another engine nearby where you can just drop it in. But not everybody can pull that off. So one of the best things you can do is to, well, first of all, understand that crisis, that things which occur, circumstances like the weather, things are going to happen. The two things of which, that nobody can do anything about, it's always a part of the formula, no matter whether you put it together or whether you try to plan for it or not, it's going to get in there. And the two biggest things are change and the passage of time, the issue of time. Those two are inevitable. There's no way you're going to get around it. For everything in life to think it's all going to turn out, that it's all going to be fine, that's a fallacy. We got a lot of misconceptions in our culture, in our society, that we think whatever is...
Your mom said...
What?
Your mom said, keep holding her hand, son. Love you, son. Good to see you both on Facebook. Have a blessed night. You too.
You too, Mama. You cannot plan for everything, but you can try, at least for the things in which you face, you deal with. There is an answer. And let me tell you, it's true. The same event happens when it happens to everybody. Everyone will go through something. And if you're dealing with any kind of issues like that as far as the financial, know, man, that you are not alone. There are multitudes that are facing all kinds of issues. And even those that aren't, to those that survived, layoffs and mergers, acquisitions, you can bet their level of anxiety is probably heightened to a point where they're ready just to explode. And that's not really living. That's not living at all. Anxiety is a killer. They've already proven, even health-wise. You want to know something that causes cancer besides cigarettes?
Hi, Pam.
Besides sucking on some nicotine, the top killer that they believe in America, for the studies of which I think it was the MDA and some others, that they flat out said that what's the biggest killer is anxiety, is fear, being anxious for things, not knowing basically what's going to happen next. And that is one of the biggest anxieties that most people have, is they don't know what's going to happen next. And so they're scared. They're afraid. And that's it. That is so detrimental.
Let me tell about a couple of times we were in crisis.
Go ahead.
And what we did.
Story time. Go ahead.
Story time. Story time with Penny. One time when we were living in Illinois, we lived in a house that we were renting. And I knew that Gary's job, well, he was looking for another job, and it was looking like he was going to get another one in another state. And so I tried to be nice and give a heads up to the rental management group that we were going to be leaving. We were going to be moving out. Hi, Rhonda. And so they decided to rent our house out from under us, to rent it to somebody else and kick us out, because I had told them we were going to be leaving soon. I didn't know when, because it wasn't a for sure thing yet.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was nice to give them some notice. Well, I found out they weren't nice enough for me to be that nice to them. And I shouldn't have done that, but I didn't know. So they did rent our house to someone else while we were still living there. They told us we had like 30 days to get out or something. We were good renters. We had already always paid rent on time. We never caused any trouble for anybody. And so it was crazy. I couldn't believe they were doing that. And there was no place. We had 10 children. We had this big tribe of people to try to move anywhere. And we didn't know where we were going next because he didn't have a job already nailed down or anything. So I was in a panic. I was very anxious. And I was praying about it, and we've learned this way to pray about what is God's will for our lives. And we did it tonight too because of something that that helps a lot to have family. He said, been in many crises, but as long as I have my wife, kids, and grandbaby, I'm good. Stay positive.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so I prayed that the Lord would show me something because I didn't know what to do. They were telling us to get out. They had already rented it to. They had people come through our house while we were still living there to see it, and then they actually rented it to somebody else and changed the.
This is Illinois now.
Changed our trash to the name of the new renters, and we were still living there. We had nowhere else to go. We looked at a few houses, but there was no way.
No.
We couldn't move out and then move to another place. We had 10 kids. It was impossible. So we just stayed because we had to. We had no choice. And I was just very anxious. I didn't know what was going to happen next. It was like, when the doorbell rings, who's it going to be? And it was scary. And so I prayed, and I heard Philippians 4:6. And I was just like, oh, well, okay. All right, I'll see what Philippians 4:6 says. And that is to me now, it's a famous verse, Philippians 4:6. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything with prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. I know it. I got it memorized.
Like you needed to look that up.
I don't need to look it up. I've got that one memorized very well now, because I've had to quote it many times since then. But that really helped. And the peace of God, the next verse 7, the peace of God which passes understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And it really did work. I mean, I wasn't anxious. I said, Lord, we need to have something happen with Gary's job, and we need to be able to move quickly because we've got people trying to move us out. And it happened. He got the job in Pennsylvania, all the way from Illinois to Pennsylvania, and it worked out. And I didn't have that anxiety. That was really scary. And so I learned then to just really make my request known with thanksgiving and just praise him for what he had done before, and just press into God in times like that and not let the anxiety take me over. And so that was that verse has just been a life verse ever since then, Philippians 4:6. And other people have seen. I have a friend asking what time we go live. How do I answer her? Right now, Kathleen. She ought to see it. She ought to get a notification for it.
Did she?
I don't know how to answer it while I'm doing a live.
I don't know either.
Hopefully she'll see that we're on.
Yeah.
So, I had another story. Gosh, we've had so many crises even since then.
Yeah, we remember even the time when there just wasn't any more money left. And there's
Hi,
my
Bridget.
Bridget Taylor. There she is.
Thanks for coming on, Bridget.
There was one time, it was about around May, June, and there just was not enough money to cover things. And the electric company, they finally went ahead and sent somebody out to
turn off our electricity.
Turn off electricity. Basically, they were paying these kids these young individuals a certain amount of money just to go out there and do that because, the other guys were like, we're not doing this because, this is how people get shot and everything else, and we're not playing this game. So it's sending these young kids out there not having a clue that, hey,
he came to the door and said, well, I'm here to collect your
I'm here to collect, $300 or something.
I don't have it.
We told him we do not have it.
He goes, well, all right. He went and turned off our electricity.
He went out there and he just shut the box down. And, here we have food in this refrigerator and, and we've got nothing else. And I was like, well, heck, I wonder how in the world this is going to turn out, And went outside and we were praying about this, not knowing what to do because, you only got what you have. That's all you have. Well,
we had no other form of electricity.
No, we didn't have anything. And next thing we know, you read that?
Yeah, your mom's going on to bed. She has a headache.
Next thing we know, for one thing, my father, he stopped by.
We'll pray for you, Margaret.
He let us use a generator, but this generator, when the rest of the family went, we went somewhere to sing that we, during this time when we were still singing together, we went somewhere and we sang at this other location. Our son, our oldest at the time, was staying back home. Well, this generator was running for just a little bit, and the engineering, the design of this thing was not done very well because when it was vibrating, unbeknownst to him, the plastic tank had rubbed enough against the frame that it put a hole in it, and now this gasoline was leaking. And it had literally just made its way all across the floor in the garage. I mean, it could have been disastrous, man. I mean, if it hit the hot muffler or anything else, a spark or anything, you know how gasoline is. I mean, the vapor's enough. Just, what is it? They said just the vapor and just I think it's a 3-gallon container, 2-gallon container, just the vapor in that alone is like a quarter stick of dynamite. But it never lit. It never caught fire. When we got back, it's when I found the disaster, and Sean didn't know what was going on. Well, we couldn't use that anymore, so we shut that thing off. And the next morning, someone else stops by and says, you know what, I got a generator you could use. So they brought us one. And, we only ran this thing not very often at all. We didn't run this thing all day or nothing. We just ran this thing a little bit during the day.
Just get a few things done.
Taking care of laundry and stuff, and then we just shut the thing off.
Couldn't use the dryer. It took too much.
Oh, God.
Had to hang things on the line.
Yeah.
Little house on the prairie. That's kind of fun, really.
Yeah, one thing was certain, all the kids went to bed on time because there was no light.
It was dark.
When the sun went down, everybody went to bed. Yeah,
and
then come the rise of the sun, everybody else was up too. Whole different lifestyle in the change of just a couple of days. But the good news is that when we're sitting out there just praying, all of a sudden, we actually got an influx of money. I don't know who it was, where it came from, whatever. We had the money, but you know what? DP&L at the time, to show you how nasty they were were like, oh, we're going to prove a lesson. So they decided not to send anybody out at all. They decided not to send anyone.
It was a holiday or something.
Yeah, but still, they just wouldn't send anybody. They waited a whole. It was almost 2 weeks.
It was Cherie that gave us the money.
Was it Cherie that gave us the money? It was almost 2 weeks, and it was pretty bad. But we made the most of it. And one of the words that I believe I was getting, and it came with a confirmation. Somebody that I know, that I shall remain nameless, did something that I would never expect them to do, and it came in the form of a large cooler that you would roll around like a dolly. And that's about what it would take to go on a picnic with the size of my family. So what we did do instead of sulking and contending with this whole issue with the P&L and not being able to get our power back on or anything else, we just packed up.
A picnic lunch.
Every day we'd take off and we'd go and we'd have.
It didn't matter that we didn't
have a picnic. Didn't matter if we couldn't cook anything or not. We took off every day
and celebrated
and just
had fun.
Spent some more time together as a family than we would have probably done otherwise. And it was just what could have been a tragedy, what could have been something just to sit there and be upset and depressed about, was just a matter of changing perspective,
right,
and taking advantage of something, and what was provided for that moment, for that time. And it was amazing too that the water and the water and the heater, the food in the refrigerator, everything stayed good. It stayed good. Mm-hmm. Even the nights, during that time, instead of being rather humid from the Gulf Stream, there was a push from the jet stream that came down and actually kept things cool for that time. And so every night, all we had to do was open up one window on one side of the house and the other, and it cooled the whole place off in no time. So there is always some sort of provision. There's always an answer.
Right.
And
so you keep your hope up. Tomorrow's going to be a better day. Good things are coming. You're trusting God, and He has good plans for you. And then the crisis doesn't seem so scary, and you don't have fear that you're just going to be destroyed. You're just going to die because you don't have a job anymore, or because you can't pay the bills, or sickness is a hard thing to deal with, but you can trust God with those things too. But crisis doesn't have to be
it's not the end all be.
It doesn't have to cause so much anxiety that you make yourself sick because you're worried about what's going to happen if you trust God. But that's the big thing. It's hard. We know it's hard. It's hard to trust God when you don't know what's going to happen. You're in limbo. The future is unknown, and we're there again.
Yeah. But
we're trusting God even now for the next job that Gary is supposed to have, and we're good. We're doing fine because we know that God has great things in store. Bye, Kelsey. And it doesn't do any good to worry. It really doesn't. There's a verse about that too. It doesn't add a cubit to your stature to worry. And
the whole point is
that
you've got to find something to base your hope on. Mm-hmm. You've got to have something that you can find where you can let go of the concerns that you try to carry, that crush you. You need to find an ultimate peace. Because for all the things to have, aside from contentment, of gratitude, which changes things like you would not believe, the primary is peace. If you don't have that, then everything else is just going to unravel. It's only a matter of time. It doesn't matter how good it is, because the circumstances, it's always going to change. It never stays the same. There's events and there's times that come up that nobody plans for, and it's not a matter or a result of what you did that was right or wrong. It's just life.
We live in a fallen world. It's a broken world. You can't just say, the universe will take care of me. It really has to be God, because He's the one who formed us, who made us in His image, and He cares about us, and He cares about what happens to us, and He wants us to trust Him. Our faith is so valuable to Him. It's just gold, and that's why He purifies us like gold. Our faith it just means everything to God. It means we love Him. If we trust Him, it's because we love Him, and He loves us so much, and He wants to know that we love Him too. When we show our faith, and we don't get all anxious and upset and distraught when crisis happens, when things don't go the way we thought they would, when things look really bad. If we don't trust him, then we are just gonna. The anxiety is crushing, and it does make people sick. And it's just really all the antidepressants and everything that so many people are on. We need to do something different because there is an answer. God is the answer. You build your life on him. You trust in him, even in the worst circumstances. Know that he's going to help you. Have that hope for tomorrow. Tomorrow will be a better day. He does have good plans for you. Keep that in mind. And don't give in to the negative. Don't give in to doubts and fears. Don't live in fear. And you'll make it through the crisis. The crisis will be over, and it'll feel like, oh yeah, what was that? That bump in the road? Oh yeah. I know what I'm talking about because that's how it has been for us. Chad Winters?
Yeah. The issues are the things which we face, which we challenge. The fires which we go through, they're all for a time, for a season. It says it rains on the just and the unjust, which just simply means that the same one event happens to one and all. It's not a matter of like I said, of what we've said or what we've done. It's just a result of just the things which occur in life. And the outcome, that's what's different. Whether we react, whether we respond.
Right.
It makes all the difference in the world.
Yes.
I can understand, I can relate to things you put your trust in, that you expect to work every day. You turn a key, you expect that machine to kick into gear and to go, You've got things that you expect to work. Mm-hmm. And when they fail, it's just massively frustrating because everything else that you had in place to get something done doesn't work. Well, you have a chance, you have a choice, you react in anger, you can get depressed over it, which is one of the two things that most people do when there's something negative. Mm-hmm. In the sense of what we perceive to be as an issue, as a problem. A lot of times, which is just kind of hard to swallow or hard to take, is the fact that sometimes the things you go against, we're creatures of habit. If you're given a path and a way, and then all of a sudden that way is no more, it's closed off to you. For example, a friend of mine, in the earlier times of his life, when he got started, before I ever did, he already had a degree that dealt with electrical or electronic engineering, the earlier part, before they were solid state. So they were soldering boards and logic boards before there were motherboards, and putting things together like that. And they thought pretty well that they were in a place, in a job, way before anything would ever replace those things. Well, lo and behold, all of a sudden solid state hits. They come up with a better way of manufacturing and putting things together that's a lot cheaper than repairing those boards. And the next thing you know, his degree and everything he put into that is now obsolete. He was one of just several along the lines, thanks to what was called a technological disruption. Mm-hmm. Disruptive Technologies is what they call them, but mm-hmm. it's a technological disruption. It's when, for example, my Aunt Bridget, for example, she could tell you, she worked for a company that took the images from satellites. They would take those images that they were given, and then they would blow those things up. They would literally create physical pictures for the military, for the nearby Air Force Base. And what happened is that technology got to moving a lot longer, a little further along, and came up with bigger screens, came up with a lot higher resolution, a transference of that information in a way that, oh my God, it basically was knocking her company out of its place, out of its purpose. the wild thing to consider is this: when that way that you've known all this time closes on you, don't think that there's nothing else. I know your perspective, and like I said, human nature, we all get used to doing something one way, and we can't see anything any other way. When that closes off, know there's something else.
Mm-hmm.
You may not see it right now, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. You know, for example, think of the hole that's down there in Antarctica in the ozone. They discover it and they say, oh my God, there's a hole in the ozone. That hole's been there for thousands of years. That thing's been there, depending on how old you think the Earth is, that thing's been there since way back. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden one day they stumble on it and discover it.
Oh
my God, we have this hole in the ozone. Oh my gosh, you know.
We just found it, so
give
it
me
must
a
be
break. New. You know, oh, you discovered it. You know, it's like you stumbling over a turtle and say, oh my God, what is this reptile? Oh my, I've never seen one before. Oh yeah, you just discovered it and now they're brand new, right? No.
It's brand new.
It's
There's
the same
never been
thing.
one before.
It's the same thing for the other things that are there that you've never discovered because you never looked for them. You've been passing by it every day. You've been driving by it every day, shifting gears, going right on by, and now all of a sudden you have this disruption. You have this on your highway of your life. All of a sudden you have this traffic jam, which of course you know you're ticked off because you can't get to where you want to go. And for the first time in your life, you take a look around and you see things that you've never seen before. Because something has disrupted this point in time in your life. Mm-hmm. That friend of mine, he went from soldering boards and working for this one company to finally doing something for himself at home in the form of dealing with technical writing and involving working with the information that dealt with the logic boards, with the motherboards, the application of solid state. He was in that, and he was a part of that, and he was able to do that from home. It was a complete different, it was somewhat of a different channel. You know, it was kind of like a lateral move, but still, it was something entirely different, and it was an opening for him that he would have never considered. And it changed his location, of course, and where they were living before. But keep this in mind, that things where it seems like there is no opening, and there is no hope, trust me, there's something else. We don't see it all. We don't know it all. But I promise you this. If you can find that altar of peace, if you can find that place of contentment and gratitude, you'll be surprised of how, for what you say and what you do, changes the atmosphere around you. The things, and we'll get into this later on because we're running out of time. Oh my God, we are running out of time. The things that the world searches for and desires, to the person who can find their niche in life, to what you were purposed for, to what you were destined for, what you have a passion, that you find your flow, that all those things will be attracted to you. But a part of that, the other half that galvanizes your calling for what you were purposed for in this life, is your ability to keep and maintain your peace.
Yeah.
To find your place where you are content no matter what the circumstances are, because they'll change again and you know it. Mm-hmm. And third, that you indeed find that place to be grateful, to be thankful for what you do have. Mm-hmm. I mean, how many people would give anything for their eyes? How many would give anything to be able to walk? If you have these, then man, you've got more than you can imagine.
Mm-hmm. Be thankful
Be
for
thankful
what you have.
for what it is that you do have.
Yeah.
Because really, if this life has to deal with possessions, then man, we are definitely in our linear existence to be pitied. Because life's too short to base it upon possessions. Mm-hmm. There's a lot more.
Yeah. And what you were saying reminded me of when we were praying together tonight. Our daughter said, when God closes one door, He opens another. And when we know what the Bible says, we know that God works all things together for our good. And you hold on to things like that when crisis strikes, or when things seem really bad and like it's the end of the world. or Scott Beach.
Yeah, he said, John, if you haven't lost all those things, then you haven't really experienced crisis. Yeah. Oh, yeah. True.
Yeah. Joe.
So, Joe, yeah. Yeah. Whoa, yeah. I mean, like...
Oh, lost his wife and kids and everything.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we've lost everything else. I'm so thankful that we've stayed together, and that's part of what our title was. Keeping it together is we have stayed together. That's a lot of the statistics show that big tragedies and stressful things
usually end up just destroying everything,
and cause divorce.
It's messed up to think, you know, especially like for the man's side of things. You know, we how we feel about ourselves. It's ingrained in us. If the others who have no instruction act like animals, you know, who don't know how to take care of anybody but themselves.
Nova came on.
One of the biggest things that's missing is that they don't understand. It's ingrained in them that their being able to be responsible for or to someone has everything to do with how they feel about themselves. And when we take a hit, it feels like, especially financially,
did you say your name, Varian?
cannot contend with things, then we feel like a failure. And you know, to some of us, we feel like the answer is that we just need to go away and try to find something somewhere else and just leave everyone behind, especially in a system that subsidizes single-parent families.
Nova says hi. Love you guys. Nova Warner.
Yeah. It's
That's
pretty.
Boyd's mom, right?
It's Boyd's mom, yeah. Cheryl's on there too. Yeah, Cheryl.
Oh, Cherie's on here.
Cheryl's on there too.
Hi, Cherie.
Yeah, I can't see very well, guys, because my eyes are messed up. I don't know whether it's from the dust or the cedar.
Cherie's on your page and my page.
Pollen down here. I'm not sure what in the world.
That was for you when you were not able to provide for the family. That was the lowest point you got to.
Yeah.
As far as feeling useless and helpless and purposeless. So you've been through that, and so you can really speak to anyone who goes through loss of a job, not being able to provide, just having the power to make money taken away from you completely, and the power to make sure that your family has enough. And that was just taken away from you completely. It was beyond your control. It was due to circumstances beyond your control, but it still made you feel like the lowest of the low. And so you had to work up out of that and turn to God and let God rebuild you, and now rebuild your faith that He will take care of us, because we've had miracles. We've seen how God did take care of us in the worst of circumstances. Hi, Deborah. Thank you for coming on. So we need to wrap this up, because we've been on for almost 40 minutes. So we don't want to keep everybody Friday nights all tied up just watching and listening to us. But thank you for coming on, and we'll be back next Friday. And we'll let you know what happens next in the saga of where will the Douglases go next.
Yeah. Definitely, like we said, make your amends. Find that altar of peace for yourself. Make things right, that you can be at rest, because that is a necessity.
Hang on to God.
You've
Trust
got to
Him.
You've got to find that place, because things are good. Things are going to keep getting better. Trust me, the doors are going to open up.
Keep hope alive.
There's another channel. There's just a means of changing your perspective to find something
Night, Nova.
better.
God bless you.
So definitely do not give up hope. Stay away from that killer. Anything of issues of tomorrow, learn to let those things go.
Oh, Scott just tuned in. There will be a replay. You can watch that. And that would be great. If you did, let us know what you think. And if you have any prayer requests or anything, or just any comments, we would like to hear them. And we try to do this. We do this every Friday night, no matter what happens, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Gary goes and lifts weights and does this anyway, kind of falls asleep sometimes when he does that. But driving back from Dallas, and we still do our Friday nights. So come and join us, and we just really want the best for everyone. We want marriages to stay strong, so that's why we come on here every Friday, and you can make it through anything, really. And with God on your side, with God helping you, you can make it through the worst possible things that you could even imagine. Just hang on to each other like we do. We just keep on holding hands and keep strong in the Lord together, and we encourage each other. When one of us gets down, the other one has to pull them back up. And like Gary said, you just keep your peace no matter what. Keep trusting God and believing that He will make all things work together for your good, and He really will. We can testify to that. So we will see you next Friday. Thank you all for joining us, and watch the replay. Bye.
Bye, guys.